I just want to say this. There is no substitute for winning. We must win. We will win. Win is the name of the game.
Dallas Cowboys fans, let's get ready to rumble!
Got a job to do, and we're gonna do it, baby!
How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, what did I get up to?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to How Many, the only podcast in the internet that counts. And it is another Dallas Cowboy playoff session, special for the first time in multiple years. The Cowboys are in the playoffs. We have an esteemed roundtable. All the guys are here, including UK Mark, back for a second appearance. So we have Scott, we have Bob, we have Gary Jr., and UK Mark. Mark, before we even get to discussion, do you work from home?
Yeah, yes, I do pretty much. Yes.
Okay.
And particularly in the last couple of years, almost completely from home. Yeah.
Because you mentioned to me or to us in an email that with the playoffs, regardless of what time it's played, you watch it live.
Oh yeah. I can't. I used to 3 or 4 years ago, when back in the UK after living in Canada, we would stay up for all of the games regardless. So if Sunday night football, Monday night football, we'd stay up. Generally, they finish 4:30, 4:45 a.m. UK time.
Yeah.
So you just plan it into the diary. You book a few hours off. There's no way you're trying to work before 10 a.m.
Right.
But now the last couple of years, I have to say for the regular season, what we've started doing is recording the game overnight and then getting up 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, let's say, and watching Sunday night football at 6 a.m. till 8:30, and then the workday starts a little bit less painfully. But the playoffs, I'm live the whole way.
Yeah.
This coming week, the Wildcard weekend, we really got lucky. I was positive we were going to be Sunday night football.
Yeah.
And we're Sunday afternoon. So UK, that's a start time of 9:30 p.m. Finish. Well, it's going to be like triple overtime, right? So we might finish later. Fingers crossed we should be finished by about 12:30 a.m. So we got lucky. Yeah, good.
So from your perspective, a noon kickoff U.S. time is just perfect.
It's lovely. Noon kickoff. Watch the Cowboys at 6 p.m. with some supper. Then watch the late afternoon game. Go to bed about midnight. All good. Yeah.
Good.
But no, regardless of when we play our following playoff games, I'll be up all night. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my wife will as well. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going around the table. We've got 3 or 4 topics, and so we're going to start out with, and I always like to start with Gary. What makes you optimistic about the Cowboys in this playoffs? And then we'll flip it around the other side. So Gary, let's start with you.
I guess what makes me optimistic is the defense. Mostly, I really believe in what they can do. The wide zone, stretch zone running that San Francisco has, when that thing gets going, it's tough to stop for anybody. I don't care who you are, but I believe in this defense. I think Parsons is really, really locked in. And
do you want to go ahead? Do you want to go ahead and apologize again for your?
I mean, if I haven't enough already, look, I believed what I believed. I didn't never think he was a bad linebacker, but I did believe that an off-ball linebacker at that position in the draft is generally foolish unless he's Ray Lewis. It turns out he's not Ray Lewis. He's Lawrence Taylor, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
I didn't have any idea that they were going to rush the passer with him the way they do. And honestly, I don't think they'd had any idea, and I don't think they would have if they hadn't lost DeMarcus Lawrence. But they running out there with nothing rushing the passer but Randy Gregory, and they had to do something, and it turned out that he's really special at it. So there's that side of it. And then the other thing that gives me a little bit of optimism, the fact that last year when both the Niners and the Cowboys were kind of having down years, the Cowboys beat them with Andy Dalton at quarterback. So, I mean, both teams have made some changes since then. I think both have gotten better, but if we take them both on a baseline and raise them up a level. I just feel like it should be a good game, but I feel like the Cowboys are in pretty good shape.
All right. Scott, how about you?
I'm basically impressed by just the overall uptick of things. I believe in them. I truly do. I love to see that the defense has stepped up and done a great job. You know, the takeaways have just been massive this year. You know, we haven't had that in God. I don't know how long we've gone since we've had a team that could actually take the ball away. You know, we've talked before. I believe in Dak. I didn't a year or two ago, but I believe in him. You know, I think he does get into a little bit of a chippy situation where he's not accurate. He's not getting it where it needs to be, but I believe in him. I think that, you know, everybody else around him brings him up even further. You know, I look at the 49ers, and the 49ers don't really show me anything that is super impressive. It's nothing that we can't beat for sure. You know, I've been basically gauging everything on, okay, can we beat Tampa Bay and can we beat Green Bay? You know, those are the two teams. Like, if we can beat those guys, then we can win out. And I'm not going to say we can't, but I'm going to say it's going to be a fight.
Yeah. Bob, how about you?
I feel different about this team than just about any team we've had since Dak's been here. Maybe except for his rookie year, I felt really good about them as well. But this team doesn't really have a weakness. I mean, if you look at unit wise, the defense is strong. The offense is inconsistent, but when it's on, and it's unstoppable when they're on. The special teams outside of Greg DeShank is great. So if they play their game, I don't know that there's any team they can't beat. I think the biggest opponent they have in the playoffs is themselves. If they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they'll go far.
All right. Junior?
Well, in terms of things that I feel good about, I do feel good about, like Gary said, the defense, specifically the pass rush. I think of the teams that were available to us to play in the wild card, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably one of the weaker quarterbacks. I do feel like our defense struggles sometimes against mobile quarterbacks. I think sometimes our pass rush lanes are kind of undisciplined, and it leaves wide open gaps for quarterbacks to pick up those extra yards whenever the secondary kind of breaks down. So I do think that with Jimmy G being on the 49ers side, that we do have a good opportunity for turnovers. So add in our good pass rush, and I do feel like Trayvon Diggs and some of the other secondary people are going to have a really good opportunity to get a couple of picks. And I think any picks or any turnovers in a playoff game are massive, massive difference makers. So that's one of the good things I feel really good about.
Good. All right, Mark, how about you?
Okay, Jesse, I wrote down some notes on this and called this bit "Reasons to Believe." So
thank you very much.
And I've got a similar pun coming for the next round.
I have no doubt. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So the four reasons to believe. Number one, the thing that most people have spoken about Mike McCarthy is that he gets his teams playing in December ready for January. And I was holding off whether or not he would be able to do that this year, and it looks like he is. So we went 5-1 in those last 6. And I think that momentum is really a thing. Belief is really a thing. And I think if Mike McCarthy can take that knowledge that he's got from 2008 to 2013, he didn't miss the playoffs and they won most of their initial rounds. So he knows how to do it. And I think that's a big factor. Second of all, I have no doubt that Dan Quinn is going to have some good defensive schemes and some good defensive wrinkles here. He knows Shanahan pretty well. Number 3, it's a bit sneaky, but Dak's improvement in the last 4 games. I was rushing to write some notes. I think I got this right. 13 touchdowns, no interceptions in the last 4 games, and a couple of rushing touchdowns. So that's really, really positive in terms of that confidence, that connection. And then finally, and I think this is a really sneaky important one, the health of the team. I was just trying to work out the inactives that we're probably going to have tomorrow. I mean, Keanu Neal with his arm, but Keanu Neal was probably going to be our like a rotating linebacker and certainly not starting. So it's probably going to be Neal, Farniok, Fahoko, Bohanna, and Wright. I mean, who cares? Right? That's incredible. Like the strength and the fitness of the team and the depth of the team, they are my reasons to believe.
You know, first off, great points, everyone. I do think it's none of us in August would have said, defense is going to be our number one thought. I mean, you know, and so that's been a really pleasant surprise. I've heard a couple of times different people on the ticket talking about the health and Mark. So I think that's a thing, you know, we kind of knock on wood. We aren't fighting any COVID issues. Everyone's going in healthy except, our one receiver. But they talked about that when we were out at the beginning of the season with our receiver, right? That number one, I'm drawing a blank on
Gallup.
Yeah, Gallup. When Gallup was out, that the guy that's the fourth receiver is actually
Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson's pretty good. So
he's doing a bang up job.
Yeah. So I'm optimistic because I do feel for all the criticism that McCartney got, he has done this before. I know everyone likes to say, and in fact, I ran into a Green Bay fan in New Orleans, like, yeah, they got there despite McCartney, that if Aaron Rodgers, that's why he's so mad, is because if McCartney hadn't been incompetent, they would have a ton more. And I just think the reality is he seems to have a little bit. Dan Quinn, I think, is having a blast with this. So I think Pizza Boy, will do the best. I do think that we will probably lose Quinn after this season, and rightly so. Good for him to try to get another shot. So I think that this team is different. I would have felt a lot more optimistic if they'd beat Arizona, just because I felt like it would have been nice to see, though you can't complain about going 5-1. And when we met last time, Gary reminded me that I had said they'd go 10-7. And, when they end up going 12-5, that's a good team.
Yep.
And the other thing that makes me optimistic is, and this is totally superstitious, but when everyone is talking about, oh, this will be an easy matchup, or this will be good, you start worrying. Instead, a lot of the chatter is, oh, the Cowboys screwed themselves by going up a thing, and now they've got to play a tougher team. It would have been so much better if they had to play Arizona or the Eagles, and now then the 49ers are the worst matchup for them. And I never think it's a bad thing if you can increase your seed. And as Chris said, everyone's talking about how we need to worry about San Francisco. Let's not forget they've got to worry about us.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
and so that's why I'm optimistic about that. All right. So
yeah, Mark was actually, I think, dead on when he did his predictions. I went back and I listened to it. He predicted 5-1. He predicted that the only loss would be to Arizona and that we would finish 12-5. He was dead on the money.
All right.
That
You
means,
win
you
the
know what that
showcase.
means? We're all counting on you now, Mark. You
Yes,
know
sir.
that.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
so whatever-
Yeah.
Okay. No pressure now.
Yeah. All right. So, Scott, let's flip the coin. What makes you pessimistic about this?
Just the inconsistency, and that's my fear. Is the inconsistency on the offense, the inconsistency on the defense. I hate seeing the defense get shredded by the run. I hate it when receivers are so wide open over the middle. It makes me insane. And I know that when it happens, it's just a mistake. But those things need to be figured out. They need to be fixed. They have the ability. They have all the manpower to do this. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's keeping their mind in the game or what it is, or if it's just McCarthy teaching it and coaching it or what. But the inconsistency is my biggest fear. This whole thing, because I think you had it really, really right there. That I keep hearing people talk about, this is who the Cowboys are going against. Oh, it's going to be so tough. It's going to be so tough. But you're exactly right. Those teams are having to go against the Cowboys, and I wonder if it's being played up that way on their end. So, but that's my take. That's my my flip side of the coin.
So
who's going to be there?
The late great Big Dave Conlon, rest in peace. I remember when we were at a we were at a restaurant together, Fox and Hound, and it was the Rangers were playing. I think it was the Rays during an early round, and they were not doing well. And Big Dave looked over at me and said, "Jesse, it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be the playoffs. I mean, it is the playoffs, right?" And I think what we'd love to is write this whole, we win this game by a lot, we win this game by a lot, when they got, but to throw it in there, that Mavericks championship run, there were highlights where you're like, oh my goodness, are they not going to do this? Then they had some, sweeping the Lakers, but then not doing, just barely, and you enjoy that journey. So I always think about that. It's not supposed to be easy. Everyone on this team is good. Bob, how about you? Reasons to be pessimistic?
I mean, I'm kind of right with Scott on the inconsistency. And I think even more specifically to drill down, and I think this week in particular, it's important. And I think some of the guys on the ticket have hit on this. The offense needs to get off to a good start. You can't have one of those games where the offense takes half the game to get in a gear, because you want to take the 49ers out of that run TOP mentality, that you want to make them have to play catch up. So most weeks I want us to receive in the second half. This week, I want us to get the ball first. I want us to get the ball first and score and just put as much pressure on them as possible. The earlier, the better.
100%.
Because, take a drink. I'm going to bring up a Bruce Springsteen reference. When they interviewed Bruce about playing at the Super Bowl, he said his concern was sometimes when you go out on stage to perform, things aren't clicking, that the band is off flat, the audience isn't into it. And what he has to do is he calls an audible. He forgets the set list. He pulls something out of his, behind, and does something different to kind of shake things up. And he says, and my concern is if that happens on the Super Bowl, there's no time to do that. We have to, and, surprise, they came out and it was like, it was an encore. They were on top. So I think you have the same thing, right? Like, this is a one and done situation. So you've got to be able to go right from the opening kickoff and be ready to roll. So Mark, I look forward to your pun. What is the, why will we be going down?
Well, I was going to do that one, and I'm glad I didn't. So why would we be lost in the flood, Jesse?
Nice.
Well, here's the thing. So I had 4 reasons to believe. I got 7
to be worried
for this section.
That is a Cowboy fan, right?
Yeah. So penalties and O-line having a bad game kind of go hand in hand. I'm not yet convinced that we've nailed all the O-line piece. And if we give San Francisco room to just run at us, if we give San Francisco reason to believe that they can just stop our run we're in some really bad trouble. We're just in really bad trouble. So there's that. The penalties, the O-line having a bad game. If we cannot stop their run game, if we don't work out we better have a plan for Trey Lance. Trey Lance didn't play a single snap last week, and I just categorically don't believe Trey Lance won't be playing this week. I think Shanahan's going to have some really creative Trey Lance stuff. Deebo Samuel's going to be in the backfield. We have got to work out what we are going to do in terms of some of their trick plays, and particularly stopping the run. Otherwise, we're in real trouble. I still don't like the fact that the opposition seem to be doing well in terms of their average starting position on the field. Teams seem to be getting a few yards ahead of us, getting better kickoff returns, punt returns. Our third down defense and our red zone defense has been getting better, but still is not great. I just read this morning, San Francisco has the #1 red zone offense in the entire league. So we better stop them even getting to the 20, 25 yard line. That would land us in real trouble. And then it's been mentioned a couple of times, the kicking game. I have no idea how we have ended up here with Zerline as our kicker. I read a very, very, very good comment a couple of days ago from RJ Ochoa on Twitter. And he said, this is no longer Zerline's fault. He is who he is. This is the fault of Bones and McCarthy. Zerline is kicking at 70%. That's just the kicker he is. It's the kicker we've known he is. It's not any longer his fault. People should have a problem with Bones and McCarthy, not with Zerline. And I have a dreadful, dreadful, dreadful fear that we're going to lose by 1 point and a missed field goal or extra point is going to do it to us, which would just be disgraceful. This caliber of team, the improvements that have been made over the last couple of years, if the kicking game kills us, then man, people should hang their heads in shame.
So insert real quick, David Moore, I believe, is the one who's mentioned, he said, you go into this game worried. Let's say he has a great game. Does that mean you're not going to be worried if you go to the next game? No. Or the next game, right? Like you just are going to be worried because of it. Now, Chris said that just like Tony Romo had to get his mandatory interception out of the way early in the game, he said that's his feeling. Zerline has to miss an extra point or field goal early in the game just to get it off. Yeah, I think we're all worried about that.
I mean, to the point, would you just go for 2 on every touchdown? I mean, hopefully we score lots of touchdowns. I'm tempted to say I would have an awful lot of sympathy with Mike McCarthy saying, screw it, go for 2 every single touchdown.
Curious to, I want you guys to talk about that in a minute. Any other pessimistics? I was losing count.
No, I did my 7.
Okay, very good. Junior, let's do you, and then I'm going to end this segment with Gary. So Junior, reasons to be pessimistic.
Mark definitely hit on 2 that I had. The run game is something I'm definitely worried about. The San Francisco defense is excellent. They're in the top 10 in run defense. They're in the top 5 in overall defense. And I think whenever we struggle running the ball early, it definitely leads to a lot of the slow starts we've had against good teams. It definitely contributed to us falling behind against Arizona. It contributed to us falling behind against the Raiders. Whenever we get into those situations where we fall behind because we tried to establish the run, it seems like that's when Dak starts pressing and starts making some mistakes, trying to get the team back to even. So if we're not able to establish the run early, I think that could contribute to a slow start. And then that would definitely make things a little more dubious for us trying to win that game. I also think that we really need to try to establish Pollard early as opposed to trying to force Zeke. Because as we've seen, Zeke is still good as a power runner. I think he's still effective in the red zone. But in terms of breaking big runs, I think Pollard is the guy. I think we need more 2-back sets with both of them in the backfield to give us more of a threat if we are going to run, as opposed to just telegraphing Zeke is going to run up the middle for 5 yards or something like that. So that's the first one. And the other one, Mark again addressed, Zerline is so inconsistent at this point. I almost do agree with his thought of going for 2 after every touchdown. Now, especially if we get ahead. If we're the ones to strike first, I would definitely feel better about it. If we fall behind and we need those points to try and draw even, then I'm not so sure. But if we're ahead, I think stepping on the neck of the opponent by going for 2 is the way to go. I just think that we need that kind of aggression in a playoff game, and Zerline is too unreliable for us to count on a point every time. Also, in addition to 2-point conversions, if it's 4th and under 5 or under, and we're on our side of the 50, I think that's an automatic go for it on 4th down.
Okay. Gary, you are one of the most optimistic Cowboy fans forever. So I know this is not your forte, but what are we pessimistic about?
Well, mostly I'm pessimistic about the fact that in the last half of the season, we don't seem to be able to grind out games. We had grind out games early in the year, though. So it's not that they're not capable of it, but this is one of the things when I'm watching games with my friends. I don't have any friends on this podcast, but specifically Bob and Junior, they drive me nuts. We're watching games, and it's like if the game is tight, they hate our team. And I'm like, you don't understand. You have to learn to do this. So you look early in the season, you lost the tight one with Tampa Bay, obviously, but you took the lead late in that game. Only, then Brady goes and gets his game winner, and it is what it is, right? But you had to grind out a game against the Chargers. That was a tight game. The entire game was tight.
Yeah.
And I thought, watching that game, I thought, this is so good, because this is a good football team. And we are grinding out a tight game where the entire thing is full of tension. It's one thing when you get up big early, everybody like, do I want to get up big early? Sure. Yeah, spot me 28-0. I'll feel great. Like, everybody wants that. There's nobody that doesn't want that.
Right.
But this is the playoffs. And like you were talking about earlier with Big Dave, you have to be able to grind these things out. They're going to be tight games. You're not just going to, I guess sometimes you can just go through the whole playoffs and blow everybody out, but normally that's not what happens. These games get tight because these teams are good, and you've got to be able to grind out games. We grinded, like I said, we grinded out the Chargers game. We grinded out the Patriots game. We ended up winning in overtime. The Minnesota Vikings game was a pretty tight game that was very low scoring. We won that game 20-16. Everything like that, those things help you, but we haven't done that lately. And honestly, San Francisco's recipe is defense and running game. That is a recipe for grinding out a game. They don't want to beat you. That will look, they want to beat you 35-7. They would think that would be great, but their recipe is not to beat you 35-7. Their recipe is to grind you into the field and make it a tight game. And they think that their defense will help them win those games. And they're probably not wrong. That's how they beat the Rams twice. They're a good football team. What I'm pessimistic about is that I haven't seen us do that very much lately. Lately, when we haven't had a fast start, we haven't had a good game. Like, it seems like everything else falls apart. The defense starts off really good, and then because they're constantly out there on the field, things start, you give up the one or two big plays, you give up the touchdown. Now we're chasing points. So that's my biggest concern. Is a fast start would be great, but it wouldn't bother me to watch us grind out this win. I would feel better about the rest of the playoffs if this win was a tough win, not an easy one.
Completely.
Yeah, my pessimism is the burnt dog dreads the fire. We just, thank you, Ken Schaefer. We have just been, as a team, so mediocre for so long that, and there are, as we talked about in poker last night, there are a lot of people at the Austin Street shelter that are there because they played their due theory, right? Like, oh, well, they're due. I've got to get this. I do feel like this is a different team, but just historically, I expect Chris's sports heart to get broken. And, that I don't want this, but just that's why I'm pessimistic. Is I almost don't want to take my little heart and put it out on the roulette wheel and say, okay, yeah, we're going to do things. but for all the reasons you get, our inconsistency in offense. As much as we love all the interceptions, this is truly a feast or famine, corners. It instead of being conservative and I'm going to make sure you don't have a big play on me. No, I'm going to gamble. I may give up 30 yards, but I'm also going to get an interception later versus, man, maybe we could be a little more conservative, just like kind of keep it. So that's just, my reasons to kind of be pessimistic is just, and I realize every year is different, but it just seems we can't get a break. And
The
so
lack
we're
of
going
a
to see.
Jason Garrett makes me feel better about that, though.
Yeah, that is a good point. I am fascinated by the amount of people that on Twitter they're talking about they would love to have Garrett as their new head coach. And I do think that's a whole nother podcast, right? About considering what he did and
Who the
compared
heck
to
are
other
these people that you're following?
Yeah.
I would say that, and I'm of the six of us on here, I'm probably the biggest Garrett defender.
Yeah.
I would guess. Not that we've ever had a conversation. I would guess I am. I'm sorry.
No.
Jacksonville should take Jason Garrett with no expectation of winning the Super Bowl in the next 3 years. Jason Garrett would go in and fix the culture and fix the quarterback like no other head coach.
Mark,
go
I
in
will agree
and
with you on that.
If Jacksonville won't take Jason Garrett, but man, Jason Garrett would go and fix Jacksonville. He would turn them into a positive win. He would fix their drafting. This isn't a Jacksonville Jason Garrett podcast. I get that.
Yeah.
But man, Jacksonville would be nuts not to take Jason Garrett. He would be perfect for them.
With you, we've had this conversation, and I've said many times, if you have a dreadful team and you want to fix the basics of what's wrong with your organization, Garrett's a fantastic choice.
Culture, drafting, playing as a team.
And as soon as you get up to being an 8, I guess it would be a 9-8 or 9 or 10 win team. As soon as you
then go and get the hot coach, right?
Exactly. Fire him and get somebody else.
If he could have outlasted Joe Judge, he might have ended up with that Giants gig.
I was positive. The only reason he took the offensive coordinator position was because the Maras told him, we don't expect to keep Joe Judge and you're next up. Like, that's the only reason I thought he took that offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, and I saw some stats where, as bad as they were, they got so much worse on offense after they fired Garrett.
Yeah,
much worse.
Being, I follow so many, Springsteen fans. So obviously a bunch of them are from the East Coast, and so they're Philly and Giants fans, and you see that where they're like, firing him did not fix the offensive woes, right? No. So yeah.
On that Jesse, on that theme, just kind of funny Twitter conversations of Giants fans baying for Garrett's blood and then suddenly realizing that they had made an awful mistake. The funniest NFL related thing I've seen on Twitter in a very long time. I don't know who put it, but it said, "Dear Indianapolis, we warned you. Love Philadelphia," which I just thought was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Mark, predictions. How far are they going to go?
You are Karnak because whatever you say is going to God's ears.
Yeah, I wonder if we should have waited. Yeah, so
okay. So I went back and looked at some predictions I made before the season started.
Okay.
And I had forgotten what I had predicted. I knew I had the Bills, but I couldn't remember who I'd picked from the AFC. And I went back and looked at what I wrote down in September. And my prediction for the Super Bowl was San Francisco against the Bills.
Oh.
So I have to be careful here, kind of being, well, of course, we're just going to kill San Francisco. But I did have them down as being a top contender. So I think I cannot bring myself to say that San Francisco will beat us. I really think they can. I think there are a lot of reasons to think they will beat us. I'll say this. I think if we win, it's going to be very, very, very close. It's going to be 31-30, 33-30 in overtime. It's going to be very close if we win. Conversely, I think if we lose, they're going to kill us. I think we either win by 1 or we lose by 20. is how I think this is going to go, and I think we're going to win by 1 or 2. And do you want me to go the whole way through? And then I think we get Tampa Bay in the next round. And I think the benefit to Gary's point, I think the benefit of a really ground out close win over a rival team means that we walk into Tampa Bay with confidence and beat Tampa Bay. And like I said on the podcast in Thanksgiving, it's written in the stars we play the Green Bay Packers and that we lose to the Green Bay Packers. And I think we go to the championship game, lose to the Packers. That is a successful season, and I will not have anyone say that isn't a successful
That's
season.
where Mark's streak ends. You can't be right forever.
And then I think Buffalo beat Green Bay in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Gary, what do you got?
I'm very much with Mark on this. Well, at least half of what he said. Unlike everybody on Twitter, so all the Cowboys fans think nobody can seem to figure out why everybody thinks this is going to be such a good game or why San Francisco should beat us, like all the analysts keep saying and everything. But I'll say it because they are built exactly like you need to be built to beat us.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And so a lot of times the stuff comes about matchups. I expect this to be a grinded out game. I expect this to be a tough game. I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring than that. I was thinking something along the lines of 27-24 Cowboys, something in that range. However, I do not think that San Francisco is capable of blowing us out because they don't have that kind of offense, and it would require a lot of help from our defense. And I don't believe that our defense has that in them. Parsons hasn't smiled all week. Like I saw the video of him eating lunch with DeMarcus Ware, and Ware said, "I can't get the guy to smile. He's ready to play. Like he just wants to play football."
And right? He mentioned something about he feels his best game was after the bye, and he felt like last week was a new bye for him.
Right, because he didn't play last week. So
yeah, refreshed.
Yeah. So a healthy and focused and maybe even angry. Like, I don't know, he doesn't have anything really to be angry at, but I think that that's just his demeanor, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think a healthy and angry Parsons would keep this from being is it a blowout if they beat us 24-7? I guess that kind of is a blowout, but that's the only way they blow us out. It would be an utter domination of their defense to our offense. And I'm not sure I see that happening either, but it's possible. So we'll see. I've got it at close, but Dallas winning. Ultimately, I think if we shut down their running game, which I don't know if we can because that's a good running game, but if we shut down their running game, we have a chance to blow them out. But I think it's gonna be tight.
And then the rest of the way, what's your?
Tampa is a shell of what they were in week 1.
Yeah.
And they're missing all those DBs, and we put up a lot of yards and a lot of points on them, even with all of their Super Bowl defense on the field. They got a hold of our defense when none of our guys knew what they were doing. Parsons didn't know he was a pass rusher. This defense is light years ahead of where it was in week 1. I think that we could go into Tampa and handle Tampa quite easily. The last couple of times we've gone up to Green Bay, which is where we would probably end up, as Mark said, we have not been able to locate Aaron Rodgers. It's like he's in a black hole behind the line of scrimmage. That would not be the case this time. I don't think we'd have a problem applying pressure. And then we've never gone up there with a ball hawking corner. And we now have a ball hawking corner. This is a guy that doesn't throw interceptions ever. And I think likely he would throw interception against us. And that could be a game changer. And at some point, you don't make the miracle 38-yard throw where the tight end gets his toe to touch the grass about a quarter inch inside the out of bounds line and a last second field goal to win. All streaks come to an end. This year will be the streak when all those streaks end.
So we beat Green Bay in the NFC Championship. Who do we play in the Super Bowl?
It's probably Kansas City. They're starting to play right again. Their defense is fantastic. They beat us 19-9 in Kansas City. This game would not be in Kansas City. And If we get past, this is a little bit, you made the analogy earlier of the 2011 Mavs. This is like Portland for me. If we, that Portland series was a tough series. We almost didn't get out of that series.
Right.
And everything after that was just a whole lot easier. Like it was all downhill after that. This could be the catalyst to a run like that. Obviously there's 1,000 things that can go wrong with COVID and injuries and everything else. Or just the inconsistent play of this team. But if this team plays good football, there's no reason why they don't lift the trophy.
All right. Dallas beats Kansas City. I love it. Junior?
I've kind of been flipping back and forth. Even up to last night, I was thinking San Francisco was probably going to win this game. I just didn't feel good about our run game, and their defense is so good. I have a feeling that they would kind of take a little bit of advantage of an inconsistent Cowboys offense. We would really need to have righted the ship completely for me to feel good being successful against the 49er defense. But, after thinking about it a little bit more, hearing about what other people had to say, now I'm starting to lean back towards an optimistic approach. I'm thinking the Cowboys are going to win this. I think it is going to be a low scoring game. Both defenses are good. And like Gary was saying, the 49er offense is more built around time of possession and run. It's not really built around explosive plays outside of explosive running plays. And there really has to be a big breakdown with our defense for that to happen. I'm leaning towards a 21-17 Cowboys win. I do differ with people in terms of wanting the easy way to a Super Bowl. I'm all about the shortcut. I'm really hoping every starting quarterback outside of us breaks their leg, so we have a nice simple run to the Super Bowl. There's nothing I like more than taking advantage of a weak team.
You're going to play Jordan Love and
Yes.
Lambeau.
I'm hoping every other team has some kind of massive COVID outbreak so we could play their G League version to get us to the Super Bowl. Like Gary was saying, if we are fortunate enough to get past the 49ers, which I'm starting to think we will, I do like our chances against Tampa Bay. The two teams are very different from the first week of the season, like he was saying. I think we do well. This pass rush specifically does well against teams that don't have a mobile quarterback, and Brady is the antithesis of being mobile. So I think if we get a decent pass rush on him, we would be successful against that offense, and then our offense, I think, would do well against their defense. So I actually think we would beat Tampa Bay, assuming they get past Philadelphia, which is not a given. Philadelphia at full strength, I think, has a decent shot against Tampa Bay. And obviously, if Philadelphia were to beat Tampa Bay, I would love our chances at home against them for a third time. Going to Green Bay, though, and I don't even know that Green Bay will make it that far. I mean, the Rams, the Cardinals, they all have a decent shot at beating them. So it's not a given either. But if we do end up facing Green Bay, I think Green Bay would beat us. I just think I've seen it play out too many times. Aaron Rodgers always pulls something out of his butt to beat us last second. It just seems like it's a curse that I think will not go away until Aaron Rodgers goes away. And I mean, he's getting up there in age. I don't know that he has that many years left. So his time is coming for him to step aside. But while he's there, I just don't feel good about going against him in the playoffs in Green Bay. So I think that's where our run would end. And I think in the Super Bowl, I think it would be Green Bay and Kansas City. And I have a feeling that Kansas City would win.
Okay. Scott?
Okay. I am kind of like the idea that on this game that if the Cowboys win it, I think we've got it by a couple of touchdowns. I really do. Okay. I think if we lose it, it's going to be a small margin, because I just think that they're going to be there to a certain extent. But in the end, there has been nothing that has let me think that the Cowboys are going to lose this game, and it may just be the fact that I'm an old Dallas Cowboys fan, and I think, we have to beat the 49ers, but I think the Cowboys beat the 49ers. I do think we're going to see Tampa Bay. and like the others are saying, I think that we can get through Tampa Bay. I think that the pass rush that we have now is actually a match now for Brady. He'll get them off. He'll get passes off. He'll make big plays on us. But I think in the end that we would wear them down. I think we would meet Green Bay in the NFC Championship, but I don't think we could get past them. And if we lost against them, I think it would be a case of we did so because of some stupid plays, a fumble at the wrong time, a pick at the wrong time, something
Really
that
bad penalty, something like that.
Yeah, something that they would take advantage of, and we couldn't come back from it. You give Green Bay, 2 minutes. If they've only got 7 points to score, or they've only got 4 points to score, they're going to do it. So, I mean, you have to have a 2 touchdown lead on them in the last 2 minutes of the game, or you're going to lose. That's where Aaron Rodgers wants you. He wants you to be 3 points ahead with 1 minute, 20 seconds left to go, and they're getting the ball.
Yeah, I can't tell you how often Chris and I we left him too much time. We left him too much time, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's I don't think we're going to get past the NFC Championship, but you know what? I think if we get to the NFC Championship, then we have a successful season. Yeah. If we don't get to the NFC Championship, then I don't think we had a successful season.
Okay. And Super Bowl pick?
Man, I really think it's Green Bay.
Okay.
I really do.
Who are they playing?
Kansas City.
Okay. Bob?
I'm kind of similar to Mark as far as the path, but I actually think we're going to win against San Francisco by about maybe 10. I think I see it maybe like a 30-20 game. I think we will get off to a good start. And I think the guy who's going to have a big game tomorrow is CD Lamb. I think what people are forgetting, a lot of people are talking about how great the Niners D is. The Niners front seven is good. Their secondary is not good. Right. So if the Cowboys are smart, they'll go deep early and often, put pressure on them. And I just feel like CD's long overdue for a big, huge game. So I'm counting on that tomorrow. I agree with just about everybody on the Tampa Bay thing. I think it's hilarious that none of us even consider for the briefest moment that the Eagles might win this week. But yeah, Tampa Bay, I think that first week really that's a lot of confidence right there. Us going in there week one and almost pulling out a win. And like Gary said, our defense has gotten so much better since then. So I think we'll win that game. And I think Mark's right. I also feel the karmic pull of the McCarthy returning to Lambeau. But I don't think the Cowboys win that one. I think Rodgers, at home, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just feel like that seems like a likely end of the road. And then I think for the AFC, I know they're young, but I've got a really like 91, 92 Cowboys vibe about that Bengals team, man. They've got triplets. They've got all sorts of explosive weapons. They got a quarterback that's really come into his own. They've proven they can beat the best teams. I mean, that game against Kansas City, the Chiefs really needed that win for the 1 seed, and they punched them right in the throat. So that's all I needed to see out of them. So I think it's going to be the Bengals and the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Going out on a limb.
Who wins?
Packers.
All right. Well, I had said that we would beat the 49ers. I guess if we were doing the over and under, I would pick that we'd lose since everyone else picked we'd win. But no, the reality is, I do think this is a good enough and it's a different enough team that we can win a close one to the 49ers. And we will actually do it with Greg doing a winning field goal and all is forgiven, all is great. Oh, we're like, yay, why did we ever doubt him? Bailey who? Then yes, it is probably scary to go to Tampa, but I feel Gary's point about it, this Portland thing with the Mavericks, right? Like, I think that's going to give them a lot of confidence. Then you go in, we've been that. And boy, Gary, I sure hope you're right about Green Bay. I do think you have the idea of McCartney there and coming home. And I just don't see them doing it because we just haven't been able to do it. But I would love that if it happened. I think that we're ecstatic, and then you're playing on house money, getting to the Super Bowl. Like at that point, but I think we'll lose. And I do think that, I think Kansas City will beat Green Bay from the Super Bowl. So that's my pick.
Hey, and with the COVID situation, it is not out of the realm of possibility that the Super Bowl ends up getting moved to Texas, to Dallas.
Yeah.
So if we were fortunate enough to make it that far, potential home game.
Hey, there we go.
Last time I was in Vegas,
there is a 0% chance.
Probably.
They have more than one contingency plan, and they'll take it somewhere else. It won't be here.
I had a thought
Okay.
Yesterday. And it's just kind of one of those things. What would the NFL do? Say Tampa Bay makes it to the Super Bowl, and we're 2 days before the game. The hype's been going now for 13 days, and Brady comes down with the virus.
Ooh.
Do they say, oh, well, tough shit? Or do they say, oh, well, let's just push the game back a day or two and let him get healthy?
There'd be riots in the streets. You can't.
I believe so too, but
from a scheduling standpoint, I don't think you can. There's too many things pre-booked during the Super Bowl. All of the concerts, all of the stadium availability.
You're right, but if there was anybody that would ever even think about it, it's that loser Goodell. He would try to do anything.
I tell
like
you
that.
right now, if he's not showing symptoms, they won't even say anything. They'd let him play the game with it if you want.
Yeah. I think that's a likely scenario. They would just hide the test results.
Like, what? We didn't see any test. What test are you talking about?
I think you may end up in that 5 days at the point the teams have made it to Los Angeles, wherever it's held. I think you'll end up with an amnesty. I think there'll be some kind of unofficial guys. Put your 53 players on the field and play. I think there will. Goodell and the like would be so worried that you end up in a whitewash Super Bowl because Brady, Rodgers, Prescott, whoever, doesn't play, and you end up playing. I mean, who's the backup quarterback for the Bucs, right? Yeah. I mean, Cooper Rush plays or whoever. Like they would be terrified of that happening. I think you'll end up with an unofficial amnesty. Hey, if you've made it to LA with your 53 guys, play the game.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, they won't test anybody. It would just be if you're showing symptoms, that'd be a different story. But they won't test anybody. So
now
he would have to be in an ICU with a ventilator on his mouth to be able to keep
Aaron Rodgers would still beat us playing with a blooming ventilator on his back.
Now, the lover of stories, I don't think this can happen, but Tampa Bay and New England would be a lot of fun. I mean, for a Super Bowl, there's two. I mean, but just you talk about just everyone just licking their lips like, oh, this kind of the master and the the student and all this would be.
And
great.
I will say, the last time I was in Vegas, I put $100 down on the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl at 8-1 odds. So this would be a great opportunity for karma to finally even things out after my horrendous Vegas trip.
Way to screw us up.
Okay, so if my choice is clearly Dallas, and I think if we get to the Super Bowl, we win the Super Bowl. I just don't think we're going to get to the Super Bowl. My number two choice, the team I would really like to see win if we can't, is Buffalo. I lived in Toronto, went to Buffalo home games, know a load of Buffalo fans. I have people that have season ticket holders, etc. Love as friends. I would choose Buffalo. If it can't be either of those two, as much as I hate to see the likes of Belichick heading back to the Super Bowl and the Patriots being back at the top so quickly, I'm a big draft watcher. I love the draft, Jesse. I've said to you, I enjoy the draft process more than I enjoy watching some games. I had Mac Jones as my number 2 quarterback, and he was close to Trevor Lawrence. And people were killing Mac Jones in the draft process, talking about he shouldn't even be a first-round pick. People had him as the 5th, 6th. There were some reports had Davis Mills ahead of Mac Jones. He was my number 2, and it was really close. And I couldn't believe he fell to where he fell. It's just typical. Just personal thing. I'd love to see Mac Jones become this good already. I can't believe I can't believe Trey Lance went ahead of him. I can't really believe Fields went ahead of him. Wilson, I can kind of see, but I'd like to see Mac Jones go and win the Super Bowl in his first year, because I think he could be a great quarterback for 20 years.
Yeah, this might be one of Belichick's better coaching jobs with that team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing would be fun is Dallas and Buffalo again. Just because, just like, it would be just huge. That would be just, amazing.
Yeah, I can't imagine us losing that one just based on the matchup. Like, it just seems natural. Us against Buffalo means blowout win for the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. So, boy, would Buffalo be wanting that?
Yeah.
All right. So great discussion, guys. I really appreciate it. Scott, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are just, I'm so giddy that we're at this point. And I really, I can't remember the last time we were at this point, and I actually had good thoughts, that I felt like, yeah, we can do this. We can actually win, and go on. And so I'm just kind of taking it as like, I want to soak it in, get as much as I can from it. Because I know that once football season's over, it's dry for me on TV, because there is no sports on TV after the Super Bowl.
Bob, any final thoughts?
I'm really excited about seeing playoff Parsons. I feel like Gary was talking about earlier, I think as great as he's been, I feel like we might see like this next level that we haven't even seen yet. We kind of have a running joke, the old Fast Times at Ridgemont High movie where the Forrest Whitaker character is the superstar on defense, and to get him fired up for the game, that they steal his car and wreck it, like then spray paint the other team's stuff on it so that he's super keyed up for the game. I kind of envision him being in that mode in the game, so I'm looking forward to that.
Good. Junior?
I am just happy for meaningful football in January. It's been a while since I actually had a Cowboy team that I felt had a decent chance to advance. The last time I felt this good about a team was 2016. Obviously, we finished with home field. We didn't get past the Packers that year, but that was the last time I felt like we had a legitimate shot to make it all the way to the Super Bowl and possibly win it. So I'm just grateful that this is not a tank for Tua situation.
All right, good. Mark, final thoughts?
I mean, we've known we were going to short of some disaster, we've known we were going to the playoffs since week 2, right? So it's finally here. I'm very excited, genuinely excited to see what this coaching team can do. I do think Kellen Moore, who's doing head coach interviews, is going to have some wrinkles up his sleeve. He is not going to have done these interviews and then want people to look at a very boring game plan. So I'm excited for that. The most excited I've ever been in the past about a team was 2015. Everyone forgets 2015. We started 2-0. That was the year we were going to the Super Bowl, and just horrible injuries got in our way. I am more excited now than I was for that 2015 team. It's just great to be relevant. We're going to be relevant for several years, I think. And let's just enjoy the next few weeks. It's just great time to be a Cowboys fan now, this next few weeks.
And Gary, you want to bring us home?
Micah Parsons said, you become a star during the regular season, but in the playoffs, you become a legend. I want to see what he means by that.
Oh wow, that's I love that. That's
Did he-
great.
I didn't hear that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's a
He,
great
he
line.
texted that to Trayvon Diggs.
Wow. So Chris has been blowing up my phone all week. I mean, Poochie is just ecstatic about playoffs, and so we will be, we will have all the banners up and the throws, and we will play the CD. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see this.
Are any of you going? Did any of you get a ticket?
No.
They're just impossible, right?
Can't afford that.
Yeah.
And we kind of, Mark, I know Gary is this way too. We almost prefer watching the game on TV because when I've been to like, I think 3 games at the new stadium, and every time I've gone, I'm watching on the screen above, not looking on the field.
Yeah. So
I would have loved to have gone, but after my Weird Al expense, I don't know that I can double dip and buy another pricey $500 ticket to a Cowboy game.
I was actually kind of hoping I was going to get a phone call or a text message the next couple of days because my son's fiance, her family has season tickets.
Oh wow!
And I have gotten that call, late. Hey, Dad, we're gonna go to the game, and there's one of the kids isn't going. You want to go? It's like hell yeah! So
yeah,
I've actually been able to attend a few games over the last few years.
Ah, nice.
And I'm sort of kind of going, okay, am I gonna get that call?
Yeah, that's
to get to go see this, but I'm kind of cool. I'm kind of cool.
Well, this is for Mark. We will play the CD, which is Dallas Cowboy Hits Volume 1.
I'd like to welcome the next head coach of the Cowboys, Chan Gailey.
Yes, exactly.
We must win. We will win. Winning is the name of the game.
Is it Michael Irvin or Michelangelo? I will send you a link, Mark. It is a CD filled with hits, and there's all kinds of clips. But before we turn on the game, we will play Dream Baby Dream. And so,
we must.
So there we go. We're gonna do that. All right. Thank you, Scott, Bob, Junior, Gary, and Mark. This was a blast. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a post NFL episode after the Super Bowl and kind of talk about it and do early thoughts about next season. For now, everyone, please stay safe. Good luck to your team unless they're playing against Dallas, and then I hope you lose. And let's all get together and be safe and have a great playoff season. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much. We did it our way, baby. We did it. We did it. We did it.